So we covered a lot of territory, brothers and sisters. This is part 6. That the Israelites went into the Israelites went into captivity, Assyrian captivity. 2 Kings chapter 17. However, they violated the commands of the Most High, went into captivity, brothers and sisters. Went into captivity because they rebelled against the Most High. Now, I want to read a passage out of 1 Maccabees. Then his son Yehudis called Maccabees. Now we're talking about the time of history that's missing out of the King James Bible that you read out of. That there is no gap in history. They removed those books, brothers and sisters, out of the scriptures because they had their own agenda. Now, 1 Maccabees chapter 3 verse 1 says, Then his son Yehudis, who is called Maccabees, rose up in his stead. Now this is during the time of when the Greeks had came and had taken over and had forcefully made Israel not, or had passed a law for Israel not to keep the commandments and not to keep the Shabbat and all the days, the feast days and so forth. They had forced Israel not to keep these days, passed the law. Now, so Yehudis, Maccabees, the Maccabees came on the scene to redeem Israel back to the covenant and to put back into place the Torah and the law, statutes, commands that was given to the nation of Israel. Now, so verse 1, then his son Yehudis called Maccabees rose up in his stead, and all his brethren helped him, and so did all they that held with his father. They fought with cheerfulness the battle of Israel. Now you can read about that in the works of Josephus. So he gat his people great honor and put on a breastplate as a giant, and girt his warlike harness about him, and he made battles protecting the host with the sword. In his acts he was like a lion, and like a lion's whelp roaring for his prey. Verse 5. For he pursued the wicked and sought them out and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wow, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the Most High is telling us not to merge the customs and practices, the vain practices and customs of the heathens with what the Most High gave us, but to burn up those idols and to even burn those people up. You said, brother, you sound like a terrorist. Well, I guess the Most High must have been a terrorist. But anyway, listen. He says that, where was I at? Verse 5. He pursued the wicked and sought them out and burnt up those that vexed his people. Wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled, because salvation prospered in his hand. Now, 1 Maccabees chapter 3. 1 Maccabees, that's in the Apocrypha, those of you that's just tuning in. He grieved also many kings and made Yaakov glad with his acts, and his memorial is blessed forever. Moreover, he went through the cities of Yehuda, destroying the unlawful out of them and turning away wrath from Israel. That's what the Most High is instructing us to do in this day and hour, is to remove the reproach and to uproot the wickedness of religiosity and Christianity and Judaism and Islamism and all the other isms and schisms, and return to the covenant. All right, now, okay. So he says, verse 8, Moreover, he went through the cities of Yehuda, destroying the unlawful out of them and turning away wrath from Israel. Verse 9. So that he was renowned unto the utmost part of the earth, and received unto him such as were ready to perish. Apollos gathered the Gentiles together and a great host of Samaria to fight against Israel. All right, you see that? So now, those people, brothers and sisters, came against Israel. Okay, look what he says. Once again, 1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 10. Then Apollos gathered the Gentiles together and great host of Samaria to fight against Israel. Verse 11. Which thing when Yehudis perceived, he went forth to meet him, and so he smote him and slew him. Many also fell down, slain, but the rest fled. Okay, so now you're going to always have people that's going to flee from destruction, because why? Satan has to have a remnant, just like the Most High has to have a remnant to carry out his plan. So he kept a remnant alive. All of Esau didn't die. There was a remnant that remained, and the remnant got together and got in cahoots with other people to fulfill prophecy, brothers and sisters. Now, so let's get back to the known scriptures, King James Version. So we find that the Israelites was taken out of the land of Samaria and pushed into Assyria, and the impostors came in. Look at 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 24. He says, the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, from Cuthath, from Ava, from Hamath, from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. Now watch this now. Watch this wickedness. Verse 25. And so it was the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not Yah. Therefore Yah sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the matter of Yah of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the Elohim of the land. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry one of the priests whom you brought from out of the land of Samaria, and let them go and dwell there, and let them teach them the manner of the Elohim of Israel. So now they're going to take out the Israelites out of the land, brothers and sisters, because they wanted that land, that birthright of Esau. And then they was being slain by the beast, and so they decided to bring an Israelite back, a priest, to teach them the ways of Yah, so they wouldn't die, so they could keep the land. Isn't that something? Wow. Verse 28. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear Yah. Now, verse 29, watch this now. This is what you Christian worshipers, Christmas Christian worshipers, and Sunday, Easter, Good Friday, pagan festival need to read. Verse 29. Howbeit every nation made deities of their own. All the nations that came in Samaria made deities of their own. They made deities. They made gods of their own. And put them in the houses of the high places which Samaritans had made. It put them things in the high places in the set apart city, Samaria, Israel. And made every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. And the men of Babylon made Succoth, Benoth, and the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashima. All demons, all satanic worship in the land. And the Arvites made Nibhaz and Tartak, and the Sepharvites, that's the seafaring people, the Spanish Greeks, burnt their children in the fire, and Adrimelech and Amalek, the deities of Sepharvaim. Verse 32, so they feared Yah and made unto themselves the lowest of the priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places. They feared Yah and served their own deities after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from there. Wow. So we see that the impostors went into the land of Israel at the absence of the Assyrian, the northern tribes taken into Assyria, and the impostors came in and took on the identity of being the northern tribes of Israel. And they considered themselves to be Israelites, but they were called Samaritans. All right? Now we know the story of how Yeshua said that the Yahudim had no dealing with the Samaritans. Why? Because they were not Israelites, they were impostors. Israel was taken into Assyrian captivity, and the impostors came into the land and stole the identity.